Welcome to my channel, Crime in Court. This is my latest series titled Executed Justice for Justin Root. And through this series, I have a few different episodes that I have laid out for you guys. And through that, I'm going to be taking you through Justin's story. This episode is titled Executed by Cops, Gunned Down in Broad Daylight. So you can kind of figure out what we're going to be talking about. Justin Root was an individual man who was, like the title says, gunned down in broad daylight by police officers. And one of the things that this case really brings to light is he had mental health issues. And this case really, draws a microscope on how law enforcement treats individuals with mental health issues. But not only that, there's like everything that the police did in this case that was wrong. And they just kept escalating the situation to make it worse. So, throughout this series, we're going to go over what exactly happened. To get us started, I have a video that I selected here. And this is a news clip from a local station, GBH News. I don't know, something Boston, Greater Boston, something. I don't know what the H stands for, but here we go. So this is no idea who this guy is, but he's going to tell you the initial story. So I kind of take you through the timeline chronologically. So this is the beginning, kind of what we know, like initially. So as the series progresses, we'll get to a little further in what we know now.
Killed by police after what started with a confrontation at Brigham and Women's Hospital, continued through a car chase into Brookline, and ended with Root being killed, shot 26 times by police in all.
That's actually incorrect. It was 31 times. So more than 26. Obviously, they did not know the full extent at the beginning how bad it was. I mean, 26 is still pretty awful, but 31.
And today his family still has a lot of questions about how and why he had to die. Root was diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenic disorders at the age of 19. And according to his family, he was meeting with a therapist on the morning of February 7th for an unscheduled visit due to a mental health crisis at Mass Mental Health, where he regularly received treatment and is located next to the Brigham. According to investigators' documents obtained by the Boston Globe, police officers were called to that area due to a report of a man with a gun. And when an officer approached Root, both drew weapons, the officer a gun, and Root what officers say they thought was a pistol, but later discovered was a plastic paintball gun. The officer shot at Mr. Root, stumbled and fell, and when another officer across the street saw, he ordered Root to drop his weapon. When Mr. Root ran, the officer shot at him, wounding Root before he was able to get into his car and drive away. Someone reported shots fired over the police radio, and at one point, an unidentified person on the transmission claimed, quote, "I think he just shot a cop." In fact, the only person who was wounded when those first shots were fired was a parking valet who'd been accidentally shot not by Root, but by a police officer. But no one knew.
So Justin Root was shot, and a valet was shot who was in the, just kind of in the background. He got a stray bullet. And those are the only two people shot. So Justin had a plastic clear paintball gun or whatever it is, how he described it. It's not a BB gun, it's just a plastic clear toy gun. It's a toy. And he thought he was law enforcement. Like that was part of his disorder, was that he believed he was law enforcement as well. So he carried this gun in his mental state of I'm a cop. So keep that in mind as well. And he was right near the mental hospital. So cops should know that. Cops should know to be very careful around the mental health facilities with patients and or with people that, pull out a toy gun.
Knew that at the time. Several police then chased Root at low speed in his car until one officer rammed into his driver's side, a move that goes against Boston police policy.
So what you just saw is called a pit maneuver. It's not part of so this took place in Boston, by the way. I forgot to mention that. So if you followed the Karen Reed story, Sandra Birchmore story, which I have playlists for both, by the way, you might have heard of Justin Root. And the reason is because there's similar players involved. There's some of the same investigators. Michael Proctor was had a minuscule part in this investigation. I believe John Fanning did too. So MSP and the Boston PD were in on this. So it's the Boston police that are, I believe, chasing him, if I am correct. I believe, yeah, because Jen Root, who is Justin's sister, she's been advocating for him, and she has sued the Boston Police Department and different officers from here. So again, I just wanted to point out this pit maneuver where basically they like they'll hit the back quarter panel of the car and it just spins out, and it's very dangerous, very it should only be done in the most dangerous of situations because it is not something you want to endanger people with.
Rammed into his driver's side, a move that goes against Boston police policy. Root sped up, going as fast as 90 miles per hour until he crashed outside a shopping plaza. Root stumbled out of his car and collapsed. A former EMT who happened to see him rushed to help. But when officers arrived, the EMT said they ordered her to get away. One officer later admitted to kicking Root to the ground. Several yelled at him to get and stay on the ground. And then 5 Boston police officers and 1 state trooper fired 31 shots, killing him. The following month, the Norfolk DA's office.
Oh, so in the first round of shots, maybe it was 26, but he was wounded in that first round of shots. And then the second time, this because there were 2 shootouts. The first was when the one officer pulled the gun or saw him pull out his plastic toy gun, and then he shot at him. And Justin got away, got into his car, sped off. They did the pit maneuver, and then then the police all came in on him and shot him again 31 times. So that's pretty much the gist of it. We'll go into all the details and how it's reported in the Boston Globe in a little bit, but I just wanted to give you this video clip because it gives you a lot of good information in one short video.
Declared the use of force by the 6 officers was, quote, reasonable and justified, saying in part that more than one officer had yelled gun before they fired. But Root's family is not convinced. They've since filed a federal lawsuit against the police officers and the city of Boston and are calling for a new independent investigation. I'm joined now by Justin Root's sister, Jennifer Root Bannon, and their father, Evan Root. We also invited someone from the Boston Police Department, but a spokesman told us they're not able to comment due to ongoing litigation. And we invited a representative from the Norfolk DA's office who referred us to their previously released statements. Evan and Jennifer, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Jim, thank you for having us.
Jennifer, what are you claiming in your suit against Boston and the cops?
They violated Justin's 4th and 14th Amendment rights and also the excessive force. I mean, it was just pure chaos. This never needed to happen. A lot of people, there were so many people involved that they didn't even know what was going on.
I want to talk specifically about the Norfolk.
Doesn't that sound familiar? That happened, I feel, in the Karen Reed case. Sorry, Jen, I didn't mean to do a freeze frame on you like that.
Norfolk County DA, you've asked him to reopen his investigation. He has refused. Is that correct, Jennifer?
He declined. He said, unless we have some new information, and obviously we're asking him to look at what the former EMT saw, to acknowledge that, but he didn't.
Well, it's actually, I have a few questions about.
So this is Michael Morrissey is the DA here. So same DA in the Karen Reed and Sandra Birchmore cases, same corrupt DA that tried to persecute Karen a second time after she was already acquitted. That DA, who they're asking him to relook into this investigation because, or to reopen an investigation into Justin Root's death. The officers closed it. They're not going to report on themselves. So it's a closed investigation, no harm, no foul, whatever, is basically their stance. And the family, understandably, is like, that's not going to cut it for us. We want answers. We still don't have answers. So what the heck is going on? They have been in litigation for years with the DA's office, the boss police, all of that. So it's been a struggle for them, seriously.
What he concluded, if I may, and then Evan, I'll talk to you in a minute. In his 7-page report in March, as I said, D.A. Morrissey said the use of force was reasonable and justified. In his report, Jennifer, he said more than one officer yelled gun before the 31 shots were fired. What has his response been to the fact that only one of the 6 officers even claims to have yelled gun, and the audio tape from the body camera shows nobody yelling the word gun? Has the DA responded to that new fact?
Basically, that means like an officer saw a gun, and that means everybody else should be on alert, pull out your guns, that type of thing. So if somebody had yelled gun, gun, or whatever, then that would have given them, I guess, justification to pull out their guns. But without that, they didn't even know why they were chasing Justin. They had no idea. Just that, they got the call. This guy, well, they did get a call that somebody had a gun. Well, that was originally, at the near the mental health facility, and police should have been on alert, but that doesn't necessarily, they get calls like that all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean someone actually has a weapon. So their job is to investigate and not just assume somebody does. And it just escalated more so than it definitely needed to go.
He has not responded to that. And the fact that he didn't even know it is even more appalling to me.
Well, my second question is about the EMT that you mentioned, if I may. The EMT by his side, in interviews, she described the dire condition your brother was in. I wrote it down: complete state of shock, thought he was having a heart attack. By my read, none of that is in the district attorney's report either. Has he explained why?
He has not explained why, and I would like to know.
Well, then there's a third thing. It appears, correct me if I'm wrong with any of this, please, Jennifer, one of the 6 officers had a body camera on. One, though 2 others were assigned to have them that day. One didn't turn it on, apparently, and one just didn't have it. Have you gotten any responses from either the Norfolk DA or the City of Boston as to why they were violating that policy?
No, nothing.
Evan, if I can bring you into this, in addition to your family requesting the Norfolk DA take another look at this, the family's lawyers sent a letter to the mayor of Boston, to the Attorney General Maura Healey, and to the governor of Massachusetts. What kinds of things were you asking them? Just to open an independent investigation themselves?
Exactly. I mean, how can the police investigating themselves, or even the DA who knows everybody there and he's dealing with people he's dealt with many years, how can you get a fair shake there?
Remember, all of this is before the Karen Read case, where this is taking place. This interview was taking place before the Karen Read case. This was 4 years ago. So Justin's death was in 2020, right? And O'Keefe's death was in 2022. I want to say 2020. Yes. So this is 2 years before John O'Keefe's death, before Norfolk County was, had its place now on the map where everybody knows that it's corrupt as hell.
My understanding, Evan, is that you sent that letter, I believe was in late September. It's now mid-October. what have you heard from the Attorney General or the mayor or the governor?
Well, I refer to Jennifer on that because I just got back from a trip. I was out of town. Have we heard anything, Jen, on that?
Jennifer, have you heard anything?
We've heard absolutely nothing.
You know, I don't quite understand that. I understand. I'm not embracing or endorsing the fact that the Norfolk DA is not willing to relook at his own investigation, even if you've got a compelling case you believe that he should. What reason might there be, particularly in this environment, in this time, where there's so much focus on the conduct of police, for neither the Attorney General nor the governor to respond, Jennifer?
Well, I would just say we need an independent investigation and we need independent fact finding. And that's really what's the key here. And it needs to be people who are not associated with the police department. We can't have transparency.
But why are the governor and the Attorney General not willing to not only not do it, but why, in your estimation, are they not willing to even speak to you about it, apparently, if that's what the case is?
I mean, that's the question I have for them. I mean, I would hope that they would talk with us. And I've tried, and so far nothing. So now I have a petition going to eventually show up at Maura Healey's office to show her the support that we have.
You know, Evan, one of the saddest parts about losing someone you love in a circumstance like this, and I've had many discussions with people like you and your daughter, is the only thing we know about your son is how he died. And we don't know about what kind of person he was, what kind of life he led. Can you spend a minute and tell us about Justin, please?
Oh, well, sure. And that I'm right on there with you, Jim, on that. It's very painful because so many facts were wrong at the beginning, even. So he was painted. Even when the police came to the door, they said he shot a man and he was brandishing a gun that he wouldn't drop. And therefore, the police shot him at Chestnut Hill. All wrong.
That was what the police were telling this poor family who just lost their loved one, that it was Justin's fault.
All in the papers, all over town. It didn't happen that way. He was someone with mental illness. He had some paranoia from some being taken down and various, resisting going into a hospital and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. Which he had a tough life in that way, but he also had a very delicate soul underneath that, and his friends just loved him. He had many, many friends. He tried to help people on the street. In fact, we thought he was probably trying to help something out down there at the time. So he was a creative lad who it was a joy to be with. I mean, today I had an appointment down at the hospital at Brigham and Women's, and I just, on the road driving by exactly where he was shot, walking up the street where they initially started shooting at him. Mm-hmm. I mean, just to think that lovely person died so unnecessarily is absolutely heartrending to myself and to anybody who knew him.
This in no way compares, but I was in a traumatic car accident where, luckily I wasn't injured too bad, but I was in a five-car pileup, basically. And every time I go past that place, I feel that anxiety. So for a family member to have lost someone, in such a tragic way, and they get to see it on video, which is even more horrific, that just brings it all more real when they, drive past that location and have to, be right where their son or brother was tragically murdered by the police.
Jennifer, as a result of your brother's death, you've become an activist, to say the least, not just in the cause of justice for your brother, but in the cause of justice for others. Quickly, if you can, I only have a minute or so left. I know you were involved in testimony around the Boston Police Task Force. The recommendations have been endorsed in total by the mayor. Are you happy with what the mayor's endorsed there?
I think we're taking a step in the right direction. I do think we're in a really unique time in history where we can actually get somewhere. I do think there's going to be roadblocks, and so I want to join the team and make sure that this really goes through.
Well, on Beacon Hill, we're getting nowhere fast. Is qualified immunity the end of qualified immunity, so officers are not essentially insulated from litigation, even if their conduct is particularly?
Now, this is a great question because qualified immunity should go out the window. Qualified immunity should not exist for judges, for police officers. I understand they need some kind of protection to do their jobs, but when they are not following the law, there should not be protections for them. There should not be protections, covering for your brother in blue. There should be real ramifications for doing that.
particularly egregious. Is that on your list of priorities? And I only have a few seconds left.
I would like to see qualified immunity changed. I'm not sure if I'm one way or the other if I want it fully gone, but I know it needs to be changed because it's a free ticket to kill right now.
A free ticket to kill, she says. I mean, that says it all. Just like qualified immunity for a judge is a free ticket to put someone away who you might have some negative feelings towards, Judge Canoni. Qualified immunity has got to be changed. I have been screaming this from the rooftop.
Jennifer and Evan, I wish you luck. I wish you at minimum that you'll get answers. And Evan, I appreciate your sharing a description of your son because it's new to a lot of us. We really appreciate it. Good luck to both of you.
Okay, so they're holding up signs that say, sign the petition, do this, go, sign the petition. It should, I'll give you the link below in this video as well. Sign the petition, go to Justin Root, that's JustonRoot.com, and sign the petition so that an independent investigation gets opened into this crime, because it's a crime. It is a crime that these individuals, these officers of the law, got away with murdering someone. So that kind of gave you a little bit of information about the case, the kind of the background. So I'm going to read this article titled Boston Police Fired 31 Rounds in 3 Seconds, Killing Man After Wild Chase from Hospital, Lawsuit Claims. This is by the Boston Globe. And there's a picture of Evan and Jen Root. Jennifer Root Bannon is her full name. And it says, as the bloodied man wobbled and fell, a former paramedic in a nearby parking lot ran to him. She had an arm on the wounded man's shoulder when 6 officers swarmed the scene at a shopping center on Route 9 and screamed at her to run. He's unarmed, he's bleeding, he's very severely injured. As you saw from the video, he got out of his car and stumbled and fell. He had lost a lot of blood at that point because he had been shot previously. But these officers tell her to run from him, even though he clearly needs assistance. One raised his foot, kicked the crouched man over, and in unison with the other officers took aim at Justin Root and fired 31 rounds in 3 seconds, according to a wrongful death lawsuit filed Monday in U.S. District Court in Boston. And this was written August 10th, 2020. So this is, almost 5 years ago this was written. So that's when they sued. It happened in February, and then February 7th, 2020, and then by August they sued. They started suing the district court, or they sued the Boston PD, I believe. We'll get to that in another episode. All right, so Root, a 41-year-old with a long history of mental illness, had led police on a wild chase to Brookline on February 7th after brandishing a fake gun at Brigham and Women's Health or Hospital. He was struck 26 times. Because most of the bullets went through him, his body was riddled with 50 gunshot wounds, the suit said. 50 gunshot wounds. There's the image of him taking out the plastic gun, and then this officer, that's like when he pulled out his gun and started shooting at Justin. So the lawsuit, which was filed by Root's sister Jennifer Root Bannon on behalf of Root's estate, names the city of Boston. So here's all the people that are in the lawsuit. City of Boston, 5 Boston police officers, and a Massachusetts state trooper who are the defendants. The 35-page lawsuit demands a jury trial on 7 allegations, including negligent training and supervision, assault and battery, and excessive use of force. The Boston Police Department did not respond to a request for comment on Monday. The Massachusetts State Police Agency said it would respond to the lawsuit in court. In March, the Norfolk District Attorney's Office found the police were justified in shooting Root, who had displayed what appeared to be a gun in a chaotic scene at the hospital. Prosecutors concluded that Root's weapon was, this is incorrect, they say a BB gun. It was a plastic paintball gun, which is a toy. And a valet wounded at the hospital had been accidentally shot by police. So the only person that was shot who wasn't Justin was a valet, and he was shot by police. The district attorney's report said that police ordered Root to show his hands and get on the ground, but he instead moved his hands inside his jacket in a manner consistent with reaching for a handgun with the type of shoulder holster he was wearing. According to that report, multiple officers observed the gesture and yelled, "Gun." Again, this is the thing that they were talking about, and that was only one officer, I think, said that he heard the word gun. And 5 officers and the trooper opened fire to stop the threat. The use of force was objectively reasonable, and said the report. Okay, so according to the lawsuit, officers shook hands and congratulated each other after the shooting. Can you imagine that? Yay, we took someone's life. Congratulations for us. He was not a threat to the public, nor was he a threat to the officers. The only reason he was uh, running away was because they were chasing him. So, yeah. He says, "I killed the mother expletive. I emptied my magazine on him. I won't talk," says some officers. That was on a recording. One officer was heard saying that, according to the lawsuit. Someone suggested they check for a pulse, but they didn't bother. "Don't think he has one," someone said. "Instead, they handcuffed him," the lawsuit said. Which I guess this is normal when they're chasing down a suspect and it comes to this where it's, gunfire and the suspect becomes the decedent. They still do handcuff you because hands, I guess, it's protocol. It's a safety thing. So, I mean, it makes sense. But it is kind of like, really? Is that necessary? So the district attorney's report said that paramedics arrived on scene within moments to render aid to Root. The Boston police officers named in the suit are Leroy Fernandez, Brenda Figueroa, David Godin, Joseph McManamy, and Corey Thomas, along with Massachusetts State Trooper Paul Connolly. I went to school with Paul Connolly. That's weird. Anyways, so Root of Mattapan had been wounded by police at the hospital after wielding what prosecutors described as a very realistic looking fake gun. It was plastic and clear. How's that very realistic looking? He wobbled to his car and led police on a 4-mile chase to the shopping center in Brookline. The claims in the lawsuit focus on the fatal scene where Root did not point or brandish a weapon of any kind and undeniably posed no immediate threat to harm anyone, the lawsuit said. It alleges that officers charged and killed a bleeding, unarmed man while he was on the ground and struggling to breathe. Although each Boston officer at the scene had been issued a body cam, none recorded the shooting. That is not exactly true. They did find one camera that there was a recording of, but you don't get a good scene. You don't get it's not a good angle. You don't get the actual shooting. So the lawsuit, based on officer and witness statements and district attorney's reports, said 2 officers forgot to turn their cameras on until afterward, and 2 officers didn't wear their body cams that day. It's protocol to have it on when you're responding to a call. Figueroa had her camera on, but footage was obstructed. She turned it off 5 minutes after the shooting. The rounds of congratulations were captured on video, according to the lawsuit. Jennifer Root Bannon said she and her father, Evan Root, have reviewed those recordings extensively. I could not believe it, she said. It was disgusting. So that's what Jennifer said. And then Evan says, I could believe it only because I was seeing it. Wow. And now, with everything that we've seen in the Karen Reed case and Sandra Birchmore and with Matthew Farwell, I'm pretty sure that we all would believe it without seeing it, that these officers did this. Because I'm just so disgusted with the behavior of the people with authority in your state. And it's not just Massachusetts, but uh, you guys have a lot of cases apparently with a lot of the same individuals involved, so it's a little scary. Root was struck 22 times in the torso, numerous times in both legs and his left arm. His right finger and thumb were blown clear through. Mr. Root suffered brain hemorrhaging due to the projectile that hit his vertebrae, resulting in sudden rush of blood from his aorta to his brain, the autopsy reported. Decades of mental illness had created a deeply troubled life for his son, Evan Root said. His son had his first psychotic break and hospitalization at age 19, but had shown signs of mental illness long before that, he said. At 19, Justin Root was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizoaffective disorder and sometimes plunged into paranoia, Evan Root said. Evan also said that he often replays the scenario of his son's death in his head. Ugh, no parent should have to do that. Sometimes it can almost feel as though I'm getting shot, really. It's a devastating thing to think of my son, who is dear to me, being so misunderstood. That's awful. Ugh, that breaks my heart. Okay, the lawsuit seeks unspecified punitive damages, but Root's family said their primary motivation is to hold the officers accountable for their conduct and ensure that police take steps to prevent similar killings of innocent lives. Certainly, damages should be awarded and punishment should be exacted, but that's not what is driving this case. The family's lawyer, I'm just going to call him Mark. It's not Betterow, some other Mark B. The lawsuit describes an out of control police response with no one in charge and commands shouted one over another near the intersection of Route 9 and Hammond Street, where Root crashed his Chevrolet Volt at the entry to a shopping center. It was chaos, the lawsuit said. Technically, it was a disaster. We're going to read the lawsuit, so or at least portions of it. So we are going to read that in a future episode. Police knew they had wounded Root at the shooting at the Brigham, according to the radio dispatch. By the time Root crashed his car, by the time he crashed, his car had lost pressure in 3 tires and he had lost an estimated 2,000 cc's of blood, nearly half the amount of an average sized adult, according to an ambulance report quoted in the lawsuit. The former EMT, whose name is not disclosed in the lawsuit, told investigators she watched Root stagger from his wrecked car and fall. She said, He was covered in blood, fell to a crawling position, and looked as if he were having a heart attack. That's because he literally was. His heart was exploding because of the shot he got in his spine or vertebrae. The former paramedic went to Root. He clutched his chest and did not make a sound. That was when police rushed in. McManamy? These names, guys. Sorry. McManamy shouted at the woman to run, stood over Root as he crouched, held his boot at a 90-degree angle, kicked him to the ground, according to the lawsuit. McManamy stepped back, and along with the other 5 officers, they formed a loose line a few feet from Mr. Root and opened fire. Why? What was he doing? Police reported that a BB gun that Root sometimes carried in a shoulder holster was found in mulch under his body, according to the lawsuit. So there were like the plants and the vegetation. There was mulch. A clear paintball gun was found on the floor of Root's crashed car below his bloodied driver's seat, the lawsuit said. I am never going to be able to wrap my brain around how 6 officers were afraid of a man on the ground, visibly covered in blood, practically unconscious from all the blood loss, that they had to shoot him over 30 times, said Jennifer Root Bannon, 44, of Needham. That's barbaric. That's an execution. She's right. In the immediate aftermath of the shooting, Godin, I don't know how to say that, boasted about emptying his magazine en route. Connolly, the trooper, told McManamy to keep his mouth shut and doled out congratulatory handshakes. Connolly withdrew his offer of a handshake to an officer who said he hadn't fired his weapon. Whoa. So you get punished if you don't just commit murder in broad daylight and execute an innocent man in the Boston PD? Got it. In the spring, authorities released security video that captured the dramatic events before Root led police on the chase to Brookline. Police were called to the hospital on a busy Friday morning by a 911 caller who reported a person with a gun near the entrance. When police got there, Root took aim at officers with a very realistic-looking fake gun, according to authorities. A plastic fake gun that they actually it got damaged in the shooting, the first shooting, because he only had the handle in his hand after that, they said. So somehow it broke in the shooting because of the fact that it was um, a plastic toy gun. A real gun wouldn't just break in a shooting. So video of the confrontation between Root and an officer at the hospital showed Root pull what looked like a gun from his waistband and take aim at nearly point-blank range. The officer stumbled backward and fell, the video showed. 2 officers fired in response, and one inadvertently shot a hospital valet in the eye. Yowzers. You got shot in the eye? That's awful. I'd be suing the Boston PD if I were that valet, for sure. Or, seeking settlement of some kind. Wow. Poor guy just wants to park cars. Now he can't park cars because he only has one eye. Well, I don't know if he lost his eye, but I would assume. I don't know. That's pretty awful. Um, the whole thing is, in my opinion, pretty awful. And the way that they treated Justin Root and his family since the murder of Justin has just been completely unconstitutional. And they have continued to litigate, try to seek justice for their loved one, and it kind of keeps blowing up, kind of keeps uh, getting stuck at a dead end at every turn, it seems. But they're not giving up and they're not going to stop. And they're going to do whatever they have to do to get an independent investigation. Like I said, head over to justinroot.com. Hold on, let me show you. Again, that is Justin, Juston. He does not spell it, as the traditional Justin. His name is actually, he used to say his name was spelled like just one. So Justice for Justin Root, we are just one is their kind of their tagline. This advocacy group that is seeking justice for Justin, which includes their family, his family members. So, right when you go to this page, you see we need your help reaching 50,000 petition signatures. I've signed this before, so you just click the sign petition. You can also uh, it's also on the front page. So sign the petition and make sure that you get your voices heard as to what how you feel towards Michael Morrissey and his shoddy investigation of the police officers in this case. We haven't even gotten to everything yet. So, what is my next episode? Hold on. That's right. So the next episode, we're gonna talk about the moments leading up to Justin's death, and then we'll look at the body cam, the security videos, and things like that. So we're gonna deep dive into this whole case. So make sure you are subscribed. Hit the like button, please, and don't forget to comment, share, do all the YouTube things. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye now.